The warning lights turned red across every space station in the galaxy. Not the slow, steady red that meant normal danger. This was different. These lights flashed fast and angry, like a heart beating too quickly. High. Admiral Zexthai stood in the command center of Terminus Station, the biggest military base in known space. His blue scales caught the flashing red light as he stared at the main screen. For the first time in his long life, he saw something that should not exist. "Show me the readings again," he said to his second officer. The young female beside him touched her control pad with shaking fingers. "Sir, the sensors show nothing, but we can see it with our eyes. The ship is there, but our machines say it is not." Zexthai moved closer to the big window that looked out into space. Far away, like a tiny dot against the stars, he could see the strange ship. It looked wrong. Everything about it felt wrong. "How big is it?" he asked. "About 2 miles long, sir. Maybe half a mile wide. It is made of something our computers do not recognize." The Admiral's tail switched back and forth, the way it did when he was worried. In 3,000 years of galactic peace, nothing like this had ever happened. Every ship that flew through space had a special signal. Every ship was known. Every ship was tracked from the moment it left port until it reached its destination. But this ship had no signal. It was like a ghost. "Sir," another officer called from across the room. "We are getting reports from all over the galaxy. Every station sees the ship. Every planet knows it is here. But none of our sensors can track it properly." Zexthai closed his eyes and tried to think. In all his years as a military leader, he had faced many problems. Pirates who attacked trade ships. Small wars between angry planets. Even the Great Krex Empire when they tried to take over weak worlds. But he had never faced something like this. "What does it look like it is made of?" he asked. His science officer looked at her readings. "The outside appears to be metal, sir. Iron and other basic elements formed into plates and joined together." "Metal?" Zexthai could not believe what he heard. "No one has used metal to build ships for thousands of years." She nodded. "Yes, sir. It is very old technology. The kind of thing our people used before we learned to grow our ships from living materials." The Admiral looked out at the strange ship again. It moved slowly but with purpose, like it knew where it was going. It did not stop when it passed their border markers. It did not respond when they sent greeting messages. It just kept moving deeper into their space. "Send word to the Galactic Council," Zexthai said. "Tell them we have a situation." "Sir," his communications officer said. "The Council already knows. Every government in the galaxy is watching this ship. The Confederation wants to know what we are going to do. What are our options?" "We could destroy it," his weapons officer suggested. "One shot from our main guns would turn it to dust." Zexthai thought about this. It would be easy to destroy the ship. His weapons were powerful enough to crack a small moon in half. But something stopped him. Something about the ship made him hesitate. "No," he said finally. "We do not attack until we know what it is." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on hundreds of worlds. The Vrex Assembly met in emergency session on their home planet. The Crystalline Collective shared thoughts at the speed of light through their living networks. Even the proud hegemony, who feared nothing, gathered their war fleets and waited. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, merchant ships stopped loading cargo. Pilots sat in their cockpits and stared at their screens, watching the readings that made no sense. The unknown ship appeared on visual scanners, but their computers insisted nothing was there. A young pilot named Kretha called her supervisor over her radio. "Control, this is Cargo Ship 7. Are you seeing what I am seeing?" "We see it, 7. Stay in port. No ships are to launch until further notice." Kretha had been flying between the stars since she was old enough to hold a pilot's license. She had seen every type of ship that existed. Fast scout ships that could cross a solar system in hours. Massive cargo ships that carried entire cities worth of supplies. Warships so big they had their own gravity. But she had never seen anything like this. The ship looked ancient. It had no flowing curves like modern ships. Instead, it was made of straight lines and flat surfaces joined together with visible seams. It looked like something her great-grandfather might have built when he was young, back when space travel was new and dangerous. "Control," she said into her radio. "What kind of engines does it use?" There was a long pause before Control answered. "We think it uses fusion engines." Kretha almost laughed. "Fusion? That is impossible. No one has used fusion for space travel for 2,000 years. Those engines are too slow and too dangerous." "We know," Control replied. "But that is what our readings show." Back on Terminus Station, Admiral Zexthai received a report that made his blood run cold. The unknown ship was not slowing down. It was not changing course. It was heading straight toward the heart of the galaxy, where the most important worlds were located. "How long until it reaches the core worlds?" he asked. "At its current speed, 6 months. His navigation officer replied, 6 months. That was not much time to figure out what they were dealing with. Zexthai had to make a decision. Should he follow the ship and try to learn more about it? Should he call for backup from the military fleets? Should he try to communicate with whoever was inside? As he stood there thinking, reports continued to come in from across the galaxy. On every world, people stopped what they were doing and looked up at the stars. Something was coming. Something unknown. Something that should not exist. And for the first time in 3,000 years of peace, the galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would happen next. The strange ship kept moving through space, silent and mysterious, carrying secrets that no one could imagine. Dr. Elena Vasquez opened her eyes to the sound of alarms. The cold sleep chamber around her was filled with flashing red lights and the steady beeping of warning signals. Her body felt stiff and sore, like she had been sleeping for a very long time. "Computer," she said, her voice rough and dry. "What is the situation?" The ship's artificial intelligence spoke in a calm female voice. "Dr. Vasquez, we have entered a populated star system. Long-range sensors detect multiple artificial structures and what appears to be a large space station." Elena sat up slowly, her head spinning. The last thing she remembered was lying down in the sleep chamber 800 years ago as Earth died behind them. She had been the mission's chief scientist, chosen to wake up first if anything unusual happened during their journey. "Show me," she said. A screen lit up on the wall, showing the view outside their ship. Elena gasped. Ahead of them was a massive structure that had to be at least 50 miles across. It was clearly built by intelligent beings, with lights and moving parts visible on its surface. Around it, smaller shapes moved in organized patterns. "How many people are we detecting?" she asked. Sensors indicate thousands of life signs on the large structure alone. The smaller objects appear to be spacecraft of various sizes. Elena's heart raced. During their long journey from Earth, they had searched constantly for signs of intelligent life. They had found nothing. Empty star systems, dead planets, silence everywhere they looked. Now, suddenly, they had found not just life, but what looked like a huge civilization. "Are they trying to communicate with us?" "Yes, Dr. Vasquez. We have received over 300 different communication attempts in the past 6 hours. They are using technologies I cannot identify." Elena stood up on shaky legs and walked to the control panel. She looked at the readings and frowned. According to their instruments, The large structure was sending out energy patterns their computers could not understand. The smaller ships were using propulsion systems that seemed impossible. Computer, how many people are still asleep on our ship? 50,047, including children. You are the only person awake. Elena thought about all those sleeping people. Families who had left everything behind when Earth's environment collapsed. Scientists, teachers, farmers, engineers, all the people needed to start a new life on a distant planet. They had traveled for 8 centuries to reach a world that might be suitable for humans. But they had never expected to find other intelligent life. Computer, why can they not detect us properly? The AI was quiet for a moment, processing. Their scanning technology appears to be very advanced, but it is designed to detect materials and energy patterns that we do not use. Our hull is made of steel and titanium alloys. Our engines use fusion power. These technologies appear to be unknown to them. Elena smiled despite her worry. Their old, simple technology was actually helping them. To these advanced aliens, their ship was almost invisible. She spent the next hour studying the alien communications. Most of it was in languages and formats she could not understand. But some of it looked like mathematics and universal concepts. Slowly, she began to piece together what was happening. The aliens were confused. They were sending greeting messages, but also warnings. Some of their communications seemed frightened. Others seemed curious. A few seemed angry. Computer, prepare our communication system. I need to send a message. Dr. Vasquez, are you certain this is wise? We do not know their intentions. Elena looked at the screen again, watching the alien ships move around their massive station. She thought about the 50,000 sleeping humans depending on her decisions. They needed fuel, food, and supplies. They had been traveling for 800 years, and their resources were running low. We do not have a choice, she said. Prepare a simple radio transmission. Elena sat down at the communication station and began to compose her message. She kept it short and simple, using basic mathematics and universal concepts to show peaceful intent. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez of the human ship Endurance, she said into the microphone. We are refugees from a distant star system. We mean no harm. We are seeking a new home for our people. She sent the message using their old radio system. The same technology humans had been using for almost 1,000 years. What happened next surprised everyone. Elena's simple radio signal somehow cut through every communication channel the aliens were using. On the alien space station, her voice was heard clearly through their most secure networks. On their ships, her message appeared on screens that should have been protected from outside signals. On Terminus Station, Admiral Zek's thigh nearly fell over when Elena's voice came through his personal communication device. Sir, his communications officer said, looking shocked. That signal just went through every system we have. Their primitive radio somehow accessed our quantum networks. How is that possible? I do not know, sir. It should be impossible. Their technology is hundreds of years behind ours. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Elena's message was heard on planets dozens of light years away. It came through communication systems that were supposed to be completely isolated from outside signals. On the ship, Elena waited for a response. She did not know that her simple message had just done something that the galaxy's greatest scientists said could not be done. She was just a human doctor who wanted to talk to her new neighbors. The response came quickly. A voice spoke in perfect English, though Elena could hear that it was artificially generated by a translation system. Human ship Endurance. This is High Admiral Zek's thigh of the Galactic Confederation. We have received your message. Please state your origin point and destination. Elena's hands shook as she replied. Admiral, we come from a planet called Earth. We have been traveling for 800 years. Our destination is a star system our computers identified as suitable for human life. There was a long pause before the Admiral replied. Human Dr. Elena, I must ask you a question. Are there others of your species? Yes, Elena said. There are 50,000 of us on this ship. The most are in cold sleep. Another pause. Longer this time. Dr. Elena, the Admiral said slowly, I need to tell you something important. In 3,000 years of galactic exploration, we have never encountered your species. You do not exist in any of our databases. We have never heard of Earth. How is this possible? Elena stared at the communication panel, not knowing how to answer. She had expected to find empty space or maybe primitive life forms. She had never imagined finding a galaxy-spanning civilization that had somehow never heard of humans. I do not know, she said finally. We have been alone in space for 800 years. As her words reached the alien ships around them, Elena did not know that she had just said something that would change the galaxy forever. 3 days after first contact, Elena found herself in the strangest conversation of her life. She sat in the communication room of the Endurance, talking to beings from across the galaxy who wanted to help her people in ways she did not want to be helped. Dr. Vasquez, said Ambassador Thizes, a tall, insect-like being who spoke for the Galactic Confederation. We understand your people are primitive. This is normal. We have protocols for situations like this. We will upgrade your technology, teach you our ways, and help you join galactic society. Elena frowned. She had been awake for several days now, learning about the galaxy around them. What she learned made her uncomfortable. Ambassador, Elena said politely, I appreciate your offer, but we are not primitive. We are different, and we do not want to be upgraded. The translator made strange clicking sounds as Ambassador Thizes spoke. But Dr. Vasquez, your ship uses fusion engines. Your computers are mechanical. Your hull is made of metal. These technologies are thousands of years old. Yes, Elena agreed. And they work fine for us. Ambassador, may I ask you some questions? Of course. Elena had spent the past 3 days studying the information the aliens had shared about their society. She had also been reading their laws and regulations. What she found surprised her. What rights do refugee populations have under galactic law? Ambassador Thizes paused, clearly not expecting this question. Refugees have the right to settlement, protection, and integration into galactic society. Integration means we must accept your technology and your ways of life? Well, yes. All species follow the same basic path of development. We help primitive species advance to our level. Elena smiled. What if we do not want to advance to your level? What if we want to keep our own technology and our own ways? The silence that followed lasted almost a minute. Finally, Ambassador Thizes spoke again. Dr. Vasquez, no species has ever refused uplift before. It is not something we have considered. Over the next several hours, Elena asked more questions. She learned that every species in the galaxy had been discovered at roughly the same level of technology. They all use similar materials, similar energy sources, similar computer systems. When each species was found, they were brought into galactic society and given advanced technology. But the humans were different. They had developed in complete isolation, and their technology followed different rules. Tell me about your computers, asked Dr. Zenth, the Confederation's chief scientist. Elena explained how human quantum computers worked. She described how they used quantum effects to process information in ways that seemed impossible to other species. Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Zenth said slowly, what you are describing should not work. The quantum effects you mention are too unstable to use in computing. But they do work, Elena replied. We have been using quantum computers for 600 years. Elena also told them about human medicine. She explained how humans had spent centuries fighting diseases, aging, and death. She described surgical techniques, genetic therapies, and life extension methods that humans had developed. Dr. Zenth was quiet for a long time after Elena finished. Dr. Vasquez, your medical knowledge is far beyond ours in many areas. How did your people learn these things? We had to, Elena said simply. Earth was a dangerous place. If we did not learn to heal ourselves, we died. But the biggest shock came when the Confederation scientists asked to scan the sleeping humans. Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Zenth said after reviewing the scan results, we need to discuss something important. May I share these results with other scientists? What did you find? Your people show no signs of genetic modification. Every other species in the galaxy has genetic markers that show they were changed from their original form. But humans appear to be completely natural. Elena did not understand why this was important. Is that unusual? Dr. Vasquez, it is impossible. No species develops intelligence naturally. Intelligence requires guidance, modification, and careful development over millions of years. But humans did develop naturally, Elena said. We have fossil records. We can trace our evolution back millions of years. The conversation that followed was shared across the galaxy within hours. Scientists on hundreds of worlds stopped their work to study the human scan results. The implications were staggering. Every known species had origin stories about sky gods or ancient teachers who had given them intelligence. These stories were considered myths, ancient religious tales with no basis in reality. But if humans had truly evolved naturally, then maybe these stories were not myths after all. Admiral Zexthai called an emergency meeting of his senior staff. What are the scientists saying? He asked. His science officer, Lieutenant Cray, looked nervous. Sir, they are saying that humans might be the first naturally evolved intelligence we have ever found. Every other species shows clear signs of genetic modification that happened millions of years ago. What does that mean? It means someone or something was modifying species across the galaxy long before our current civilization existed. Someone was creating intelligent life deliberately. Admiral Zexthai thought about this. But who? And why? We do not know, sir. But the humans might have answers. Back on the Endurance, Elena was learning more about galactic history. She read about the rise of different species, their first contact with the Confederation, and their integration into galactic society. A pattern began to emerge that made her uncomfortable. Every species had been found at exactly the right moment in their development. Not too early, when they would be too primitive to understand advanced technology. Not too late, when they might have developed their own advanced civilization. They were always found at the perfect time to be guided and controlled. Computer, Elena said. Analysis request. What is the probability that dozens of species would all be discovered at the same stage of development by random chance? The computer processed this for several minutes. Dr. Vasquez, the probability is less than 1 in 10 billion. Such a pattern could only occur through deliberate planning. Elena stared at the screen, understanding dawning in her mind. The galaxy had not simply discovered intelligent species by accident. Someone had been watching, waiting, and intervening at exactly the right moments, but humans had been missed. They had developed alone, without guidance or interference. They had followed their own path and created their own solutions to problems. And now they were here, asking questions that no one wanted to answer. Elena opened a communication channel to the Confederation ships around them. Ambassador Theises, she said. I have a question about galactic history. Who were the predecessors? The long silence that followed told Elena everything she needed to know. Elena spent the next week trying to negotiate safe passage for her people. The conversations were frustrating. Every time she asked about traveling to their destination world, the Confederation officials changed the subject. Dr. Vasquez, Ambassador Theises, said during their daily meeting, "We really think your people would be happier on one of our established colony worlds. We have planets with perfect climates, advanced cities, and all the technology you could need." "Thank you," Elena replied. "But we want to go to the world we chose. It is uninhabited, and we can build our own society there. But why would you want to live on an empty planet when you could live in comfort with us?" Elena had asked herself the same question many times during their conversations. The aliens were offering them everything: advanced technology, easy lives, planets that were already perfect for human habitation. But something about their offers felt wrong. "Because it would be our choice," she said finally. "Our world, built the way we want to build it." What Elena did not know was that her simple questions about the predecessors had started something the Confederation could not stop. Across the galaxy, scientists were pulling out old research files that had been locked away for decades. Dr. Myra Kels was one of those scientists. She worked on the planet Archelon, where her team studied ancient ruins found on dozens of worlds. For 20 years, she had cataloged artifacts that everyone assumed were primitive religious objects. But after hearing about the humans, she looked at her work with new eyes. "Computer," she said to her research assistant, "show me the artifact from dig site 47. The screen displayed a small metal object, roughly cylindrical with strange markings on its surface. It had been found buried deep under an ancient temple on a world called Rex Prime. "Computer, compare these markings to the images we received of human writing." The computer processed the request for several minutes. "Dr. Kels, the markings show significant similarity to human mathematical notation and basic technical diagrams." Dr. Kels felt her blood run cold. "Show me artifact 93. This artifact was larger, made of the same metal, with what looked like circuit patterns etched into its surface. When compared to human technology, the similarities were obvious. Within hours, Dr. Kels was sending her findings to research teams across the galaxy. The response was immediate and shocking. Similar artifacts had been found on over 200 worlds. All of them showed the same pattern: metal construction, mathematical markings, and technical designs that matched human technology. But these artifacts were buried under ruins that were millions of years old. On Terminus Station, Admiral Zexthai was dealing with his own discovery. His medical officer, Dr. Shan, had been analyzing the genetic scans of the sleeping humans. What she found changed everything. "Admiral," Dr. Shan said nervously, "I need to show you something. The human DNA contains sequences that I recognize." "What do you mean?" Dr. Shan brought up two genetic displays on the main screen. One showed human DNA. The other showed genetic modifications present in every member of the Confederation. "Sir, these sequences in human DNA appear naturally. But in every other species, these same sequences were added artificially millions of years ago." Admiral Zexthai stared at the screen. "Are you saying that human genetic material was used to modify other species?" "That is exactly what I am saying, sir. Every intelligent species in the galaxy has human genetic markers built into their code. But the humans have them naturally." The Admiral sat down heavily in his command chair. The implications were staggering. If Dr. Shan was correct, then humans had not just been missed by galactic civilization. They had been the source of galactic civilization. He opened a secure communication channel to the Confederation High Council. "Council Leader Vex," he said when the connection was established. "We have a problem. I need you to access the predecessor archive." "Admiral," came the reply, "that archive has been sealed for good reason. The information it contains is dangerous." "Council Leader," I believe the humans are connected to the predecessors. We need to know the truth." The conversation that followed was heated and lasted for hours. But eventually, the council agreed to unseal the ancient records that what they found confirmed everyone's worst fears. The predecessor archive contained fragments of information from the earliest days of galactic civilization. Most of it had been deliberately destroyed or hidden, but enough remained to piece together the story. Millions of years ago, a species had spread across the galaxy. They had found primitive worlds with early life forms and had carefully guided those life forms toward intelligence. They had left behind teachers and caretakers to help the new species develop. And then, mysteriously, they had vanished. The species that remained had built their civilization on the ruins of the predecessors. They had taken credit for their own intelligence, created new histories, and forgotten their origins. But the genetic evidence was still there. Hidden in their DNA, the predecessors had been human. Elena knew none of this when she received a private communication from Admiral Zexthai 3 days later. "Dr. Vasquez," the Admiral said, "I need to speak with you privately. There are things you need to know." Elena listened in growing amazement as the Admiral told her what they had discovered. The artifacts, the genetic evidence, the ancient archives. "Admiral," she said when he finished, "are you telling me that humans once ruled the galaxy?" "Not ruled, Dr. Vasquez. Created. Your people did not conquer worlds. They created the very species that live on those worlds." Elena was quiet for a long time, processing this information. What happened to them? Why did they leave? "We do not know," Admiral Zexthai admitted. "The records from that time were mostly destroyed. All we know is that the predecessors vanished, and their children forgot about them. Until now." "Until now," the Admiral agreed. "Dr. Vasquez, there are people in the Confederation who do not want this information to become public. They believe it would cause chaos if species learned they were created rather than naturally evolved." Elena understood the implication. "They want to silence us. Some of them do, but not all. I wanted to warn you so you could prepare." Elena thanked the Admiral and closed the communication. She sat alone in the communication room, thinking about 50,000 sleeping humans and a galaxy that had forgotten its origins. Her people were not just refugees looking for a new home. They were the children of the galaxy's creators, returning to find their legacy transformed beyond recognition. And some people wanted to make sure they never told anyone the truth. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council lasted for 3 days. Elena could not hear what they were saying, but she could see the results. Ships were moving into position around the Endurance. More warships arrived every hour. Elena had awakened 50 more humans from cold sleep, scientists, engineers, and military officers who could help her understand what was happening. They worked around the clock, listening to alien communications and piecing together the truth. Dr. James Chun, the Endurance's communications expert, had found a way to tap into the Confederation's data networks. What he discovered was terrifying. "Elena," he said during an emergency meeting in the ship's conference room, "they are planning to destroy us." Elena looked around the table at the faces of her colleagues. These people had trusted her to wake them up and guide them through first contact with alien life. Now she had to tell them they might all die. What exactly are they saying? She asked. Dr. Chun activated a recording device. The voices were translated from alien languages, but the meaning was clear. "The human question must be resolved," said one voice. "If this information becomes public, our entire civilization will collapse." "But they are innocent refugees," said another voice that Elena recognized as Admiral Zexthai. "They are a threat to everything we have built," replied the first voice. The other species cannot learn that they were created rather than evolved. The social disruption would be catastrophic. So we murder 50,000 people to keep our secret? Admiral Zexthai asked. We do what we must. Elena turned off the recording. How long do we have? Unknown, Dr. Chun replied. But the fleet around us is preparing for action. Elena stood up and walked to the conference room window. Outside, she could see the lights of dozens of warships. Each one was powerful enough to destroy the Endurance with a single shot. James, she said, can you access their communication networks from here? Yes, their security is designed to keep out advanced threats. Our primitive radio technology slips through like it does not exist. Elena smiled. It was the same advantage that had kept them hidden during their journey. Their old technology was so basic that the aliens could not defend against it. I need you to prepare for a galaxy-wide broadcast. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the ship's chief psychologist, looked worried. Elena, what are you planning? I am going to tell the galaxy the truth. Elena spent the next 6 hours preparing her message. She knew it might be the last thing she ever did, but she also knew it was the right thing to do. As she worked, Admiral Zexthai contacted her on a private channel. Dr. Vasquez, he said quietly, I want you to know that not everyone agrees with the Council's decision. There are many of us who believe you have the right to live and travel freely. Thank you, Admiral. That means more to us than you know. Dr. Vasquez, I have to ask, did your people know? When you left Earth, did you know about your connection to the galaxy? Elena had been wondering the same thing. She had spent days reading through the Endurance's historical archives, looking for clues. Admiral, I think some of them suspected. Our departure from Earth was not just about finding a new home. It was about finding our family. Your family? The species our ancestors created. The children they left behind when Earth became uninhabitable. We came looking for you. Admiral Zexthai was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Vasquez, you should know that the vote to destroy your ship was not unanimous. Many of us believe the galaxy deserves to know the truth. Then, help us tell them. Elena finished preparing her message and walked to the communication center. Dr. Chun had everything ready for a transmission that would reach every world in the galaxy simultaneously. Elena, Dr. Martinez said, are you sure about this? Once we send this message, there is no going back. Sarah, we came 800 years across the galaxy to find our family. We did not come this far to let fear stop us from saying hello. Elena sat down at the communication station and activated the transmitter. Across the galaxy, every communication device suddenly carried the same signal. On planets, space stations, and ships, Elena's voice spoke clearly in every language. People of the galaxy, she began. My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez. I am a human from the ship Endurance. I am speaking to you now because you deserve to know the truth about your origins. She told them everything. The genetic evidence, the ancient artifacts, the records that had been hidden for millions of years. She explained how humans had once spread across the galaxy, creating intelligence and guiding it toward wisdom and peace. Your ancestors called us many names, Elena said. Teachers, sky gods, predecessors, but we were simply your family, helping you grow and learn. She paused, looking out at the warships surrounding them. Some of your leaders believe this truth will destroy your civilization. They think you cannot handle knowing that you were created rather than evolved naturally. But I believe they are wrong. Elena's voice grew stronger. The humans aboard this ship are not your rulers returning to claim power. We are your cousins, returning home after a long journey. Our ancestors chose to stay behind on a dying world so that their children could spread across the galaxy and grow into something beautiful. She looked directly into the camera. "We are proud of what you have become. You have built a civilization of peace and cooperation that spans thousands of worlds. You have achieved what our ancestors dreamed of, a galaxy where different species work together in harmony." Elena stood up from the communication station. "We are not here to change your civilization or take control of your worlds. We are here to join you as equals, to learn from you as much as you learn from us. The choice is yours. Continue living with the lies that have kept you safe, or embrace the truth and build something even greater together." As Elena finished her transmission, she gave the order she had been preparing for hours. "Dr. Chun, power up the fusion engines. Set course for our original destination." "Elena," Dr. Martinez asked, "what if they try to stop us?" Elena looked out at the warships one last time. "Then we will know that we were wrong about our family." The Endurance's engines came online with a rumble that shook the ship. Slowly, the old vessel began to move away from the Confederation fleet. Admiral Zexthai watched from his command center as Elena's ship departed. Around him, his officers waited for orders to attack. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "we have a clear shot." Admiral Zexthai thought about Elena's words, about the genetic evidence, about the truth that had been hidden for so long. "Stand down," he ordered. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of ships and stations. Commanders who had been ready to fire their weapons hesitated, thinking about Elena's message. The Endurance continued on its journey, carrying 50,000 humans toward their new home. Behind them, the galaxy watched and waited. For the first time in millennia, the future was unwritten. And for the first time since Elena's arrival, the galaxy was no longer paused, it was finally awake.